What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flacco with the convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through with that little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification for your boy one time for future fire content. So as you can tell, man, we're gonna be discussing an interesting topic. We're gonna be talking about, the Rag Surenos, Red Rag and Southsiders, man, and it's an interesting topic. I'm gonna do the best of my ability to give you guys as much information as I know. And if there's, disclaimer real quick, if there's any errors, Spencer, please do correct me in the comments. But I'm gonna do the best from the research that I've done to give you guys a good insight to this. Now, the majority of these neighborhoods, there's gonna be different theories about how they came about, wearing red and using that color, right? But let's be very clear on this. Majority of these hoods started pushing these colors, right, red, before there was ever any North or South politics or anything like that. Okay, that must be established. Okay, Southern California, it's a little different, man. There's a time period in San Jose in the 80s, right, where East Side used to wear color, if everybody remembers. I think it was in the late 80s, or people tried to start that. It was more about hoods at that time. Now, down south, it was even more so. The colors, the blue and red, was played more by the Crips and Bloods at that time. The Surenos were just vatos over there that were fighting each other, right? Now you had hoods like Eastside Longo, right? Long Beach, who to my understanding, Long Beach has a lot of Crips, Asian Crips, Black Crips, and so forth, man. And traditionally, the Eastside Longo has gone to war with all those groups over there. So it'd be common for them to adopt the color red. The other hoods would be like West Side Harpies, who had an alliance with the Rolling 20 Bloods, due to the fact of some Crip neighborhoods they had issues with. They used to interact and have a lot of business dealings with each other. Okay, then you had Compton Tortilla Flats, who just started naturally wearing red, as they started their barrio up later on in years. My understanding with them is that there was a lot of bloods and just it was natural color that they wore in the neighborhoods out there. Even though they started feuding with all those blood neighborhoods, it was just a natural thing that you seen growing up. Then you had Venice as well. You had you had all kinds of other neighborhoods as well, man. Even some hoods that traditionally were blue, like Lennox and Florencia, there was times where they were wearing red. Now, this is what you need to understand. In Southern California, it's never been about colors for the Hispanic gangs. It's all been about what hat you wear, what clothes you wear, and so forth. The colors were sometimes done to separate each other. You know what I mean? You had at one time you had the four corners, which was Sotelo, Venice, Santa Monica, and I'm trying to think of the fourth one. But those four different cities were different colors at times. You know what I'm saying? And once they started to dab red, then you had Eastside Windmas, who used to go out with Westside Windmas, and the difference was one would wear red, the other one would wear blue. But the colors never played an importance till later on. So people started going to prison and when they started to have more of a Northerners versus Southsiders. You know what I'm saying? More in the 90s. Even the Sureños that were from up north used to wear blue, right? The ones from down south didn't always wear blue. Sometimes they were red. It wasn't mandatory for colors when it came to vados out there. And that's what people, failed to realize that, it's about gangbanging. It was more about your vadio. See, up north, because you had Norteños and Sureños, and because the NF had a strong hold on the Norteño vadios, you know what I'm saying? Colors became something of importance between north and south. Okay? Because Norteños were no longer fighting Norteños. There was no longer a purpose really to wear different insignia, different things, even though the vadios did, but they weren't worn over that. You know what I'm saying? Mainly, though, they were worn with Southsiders come the 90s because of the red on red implementations. Before that, though, vadios used to fight vadios, and they had different colors, different sports jackets and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Things had changed. And see, some of these hoods also adapted to like their local high schools as well in Southern California. Blue, red, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? So like I've always said, the North and South, conflict has never been about colors. That just was adapted to identify themselves. CDC and so forth tried to enforce that implementation to which both sides adapted as well. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we'll take that red bino. This is what it's going to represent to us, represent the Norte, and so forth. You know. Now, how does that work down south? Like I said, they don't care about the colors. That's not a thing to them. It's more about hoods. And so sometimes different hoods would wear different colors just to identify themselves out there or identify themselves in the hood. You know, gangbanging was real back at them times, man. The ones that were pushing more the blue and the red were, you know what I'm saying, the Crips and Bloods. You know, there's a theory that the Florencia, who traditionally wore a lot of blue, their hood started wearing red for a minute because they were going at it with the East Coast Crips. You know what I'm saying? When they were at war, they have a peace treaty now, but that was part of the reasons why they started wearing red. So understanding the red rag sureño, it had nothing to do with being a sureño. It had to do with varios. It just was a way to separate themselves or the colors that they identified. You know, for different purposes, different reasons. You know, and there's a few of them. Like I said, man, East Side Widmas, Culver City, West Side Harpies, Tortilla Flats, Compton, Venice, East Side Longo. So there's a lot of hoods that were wearing red, but there's other hoods that maybe they're wearing black. That's their color, or brown. You know, there's no there's no. It's not like, okay, colors has never really been a thing when it comes to north or south, except for we created that. We pushed that more up on the streets because the Sureños would adapt to blue because of prison. All the color issues between north and south came about because of prison. But see, at the time with all these barrios, when you were a Southsider, you go to prison, you were Sureño only when you were in prison. When you came home, you were back to your barrio. And any old time Southsider would agree with me on that. You know, the same thing kind of with a lot of Norteños. They went to prison in the 80s. They were Norteño. They came home. They were from their barrio. It wasn't until you started to see a little bit of insurgents of Sureños up north that you started to see more of a color divide. You know what I'm saying? That's when it became real. And that's why you don't have Northerners up north that are wearing different colors from different barrios. I mean, East Side Hoods used to wear maroon, and some other cities had adapted colors, right? But traditionally, a lot of them don't do it because they rather distinguish themselves the difference between themselves and Sureños. Down south, they don't have to worry about Norteños. They're funking with each other, so they'll pull a cover to identify their hoods or represent and whatnot. You know, and it's always been like that. Like I said, some of these hoods have been wearing the color red down south way before the north-south politics. You know what I'm saying? So this is just a generational thing that's been passed on from one generation to the next. And it's just a way to identify themselves in the hood. You know, they don't have no, like the Norteños have, like the three colors for the baño: red, white, and black. They don't do none of that. This is just what the color that they liked. It's their neighborhood. Could be a certain sports team. That's why they wear a certain hat. You know what I mean? It could be because of the local high school team, or it could be because they're feuding with some Crips. They want to antagonize them by wearing red. See, there's different reasons why a lot of this stuff happened, man. And I did a little bit of research, man. And the one thing that I was able to come to terms with is that a lot of these hoods, but in the 70s, were already wearing red. You know, it wasn't really about a color trip like it became up north. Down south, it's never been about a color trip. Now they do, as they've been more under the wraps of the big homies from down south's fucking umbrella. Now they represent that blue rag and that blue baño and whatnot. But before, it was all just about their barrio. Then only when they went to prison, they represent the sur. And that's as simple as I can explain it, man. I think it's kind of interesting, though, to see Southsiders from these barrios down there wearing red. And with some of them changing the way they talk, now the new generation, they're more how you say it? They're catching up to times and they're not having that old school cholo stilo. You know what I'm saying? They're getting a little hyphy. They're getting with it like that. They're into the rap Had a little technical difficulty. My computer's getting overloaded. Yeah, like I said, man, it was only the purpose was to identify themselves, man. And it's kind of a trippy story, man. You know, just think about the Crips and Bloods through their time era, man. They really got serious about colors. You know, for up north, we wore red to represent that of being a norteño, but it was never about no color. You know what I'm saying? But it started to become more of a color when you had the Sureños wearing blue and Trece. It became a number game and a fucking a number game and a color game. I remember as a kid, I didn't even know too much about North or South, but I used to see it fucking tagged up X3 Sud and fucking X4, and I used to fucking, think that it meant 13th Street and 14th Street in San Jose. I swear to God. You know what I'm saying? This is when colors came out and all that shit, and, you see little taggings of fucking whatever, fucking Payaso, fucking, Sunny Hills, XIV or X4 or 1-4. And I thought it was like 14th Street. You know what I'm saying? So I really was naive to that stuff, man. A lot of people were naive to it, man. The game banging scene changed up north, and down south, it's always been the same. They've always gone hard, and they've been kind of everything that they've done down south. You know what I'm saying? As far as in the game banging scene, that's the one thing that we mirrored a lot. You know what I'm saying? The tagging, the riding, the cholo style, and all that, man. We adapted a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? You had San Jose, which was the biggest city, then you had LA. You know what I'm saying? LA was more the bigger city, of course, and San Jose was the little brother, basically, trying to play catch up. San Jose would hold its own, though. Then they adapted their own style. You know what I'm saying? Like anything else, right? As a kid, when you gravitate towards any group, right, what do you want? You want to be socially accepted. You want to be respected and be a part of something. And, when you join a vado, you want to separate yourself from others. And that's all these hoods ever did, because I look at it how we were up north. You know what I'm saying? We didn't care about colors. I used to wear blue sometimes, right? We were more about our body, and we were set tripping. Yeah, Sureños would be a priority target, but they weren't. They were out there, don't get me wrong, but not out there, if that makes sense. And so it'd be easier when you see someone from any hood to hit them up where you're from. That was just how it always was. Where you from? Boom, like that. And then, you know what I mean? Okay. And everybody starts, either shaking hands or like, what the fuck are you looking at? And it kicks off. That's just how it was in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But it never really was like they were going to fight over colors. I've seen hoods in San Jose fight over fucking hats. I remember Bado Eastside and BRS went at it over a fucking hat. I was one of the ones that fucking had to go talk to BRS, and then I had to get at fucking Wino Ramirez, man. Because he had a lot of dudes that were working for him under BES, because that shit got a little bit out of hand. But that's the kind of shit that it was more about. You know what I'm saying? Insignias, territory, clothes, how you wear your hat, shoes, same thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't about the colors. That kind of just started to play a role more so up north than it did down south. Or in prison did. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you have red ragging Sureños that wear red. You know what I mean? You'll meet Sureños to this day that like to wear red. And it only became more about wearing blue in the 2000s. That's when you started to hear. 90s, they started wearing blue, of course, and pushing that Trece, even in the 80s, right? But the blue part came really strongly to where you started hearing, blue rag or blue this or blue that. Before, you didn't hear that as much in the 80s and 90s because it wasn't about no colors. It was strictly about barrios. Anyways, I hope I did good on this video, man. If not, man, just hit the comments and let me know, man. Much respect, saying, man, I got to get ready for my trip. As you guys know, I'm heading out to Tampa. Much love, much respects.